So how's it going, my comics? I'm over here today with Mike Oden, the creator of what's the name of your new book, Michael?
The Embrace.
The Embrace. And what was the first one we did 4 years ago?
That was Elysian Fields issue 0.
Thank you. How you been since then?
It's been an interesting past 4 years. Been through some serious ups and downs. And it's really exciting because comics is an interesting industry to be a part of from an indie creator perspective. Like, the Elysian Fields issue 0 book did very well. We raised just shy of 10K and had over 400 backers. But then Elysian Fields Pyramid Gambit did not do near those numbers. And so there was a period of time where, like, because of what I was going through at the time, I was going through a divorce and a custody fight. I wasn't sure I was going to continue. And then I had the idea for the Embrace, which is what we're doing. I'm doing a Kickstarter for now. This Kickstarter is kind of a second chance with some exclusive Kickstarter variants, and even these editions of the book will have a preview of the second book, which will be launching in July. But back in 2021, I had this idea for the Embrace, and that really took off. We did a crowdfunder for that on Indiegogo and raised 15K and had a massive backer count that went to several international countries. Like it really resonated with people. And so, been decided that, I probably had something in terms of my ideas and what have you. And I've done a few other projects since then. I think my total count at this point is 6, if you include stuff I've written for other people. Because I did American Bliss, Father's Pride Part 1 with Dave Brink over at Genuine Comics. And then I did SPQR's Bizarre Adventure, which was a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure parody manga mixed with Roman history. So yeah, I've done quite a bit.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. 6 books in 4 years. That's a lot.
Yeah.
For indie comics, that's pretty fast.
I like a lot of that had to do with the fact I was working armed security at the time and lots of free time to just write. And so I would churn out script. I got yelled at by a lot of, it's like, how are you able to keep, I just have a lot of free time on my hands, and I have ideas constantly. But yeah, so that's where things really have been going for the past 4 years. It's just I've been working.
Yeah. So when you said armed security, was you protecting people or stuff or a place?
Yes to all of those. So
Okay.
right. The way that it works is I was doing contracted armed security on a site. So your objectives are to provide security to the personnel, property, and location. So yes to all of those.
That could be fun to just some of the situations. You could be inspiration for a comic,
I mean, yes and no. Most of the time, it sounds way more exciting than it is. The majority of it is you just sitting at a post for 8 to 12 hours and praying to God your relief doesn't call.
Are you in a vehicle, or are you just standing?
Depends on what post. The last site that I was working on, I no longer do armed security, thank goodness. Is not my cup of tea. But the last site that I was working on, you would have an outside roving post, and that post generally had a vehicle because of how large the site was. And then there was an indoor roving post, and then there was a command center post, right? And then you would have posts at each of the entrances of the compound.
Okay. And What gave you the inspiration for Embrace?
Well, as I said, I was going back in 2021. I was going through a pretty rough custody fight, and you know, whenever you're dealing with something like that, I feel like most people are genuinely well-intentioned, and everyone's just trying to do right by the kid. But regardless of any of that, you know, there was a lot of hurt and pain in what I was going through. And I wanted to take that pain and make something constructive out of it. And at some point, I had gotten off this phone call, and it was just not a pleasant experience. And it made me think of this story that I had been shown back, like right after my son was born, about this kid who had been killed in this park that I walked through all the time as a part of like a gang violence thing. Is this kid was found in the Holmes Run River Park, and that kind of that sticks with you as like a parent, because you're like, man, like I walked through that every day. That could have been my kid. And so between the pain that I was feeling going through the custody fight, and then this is like remembering this story, that's where, you know, our two main characters, Clarence and David, kind of came from, and that's what, you know, made the Embrace. And you know, that's around that point I started talking to some friends, because I was having issues writing the script initially, and initially I wanted to do the book in black and white, so I had asked a few friends on who they would recommend, and I got a buddy of mine, Kimasabi, Lee Byron Carver, I should say, was like, hey, one of my buds, Dean James, is getting into comic arts. He's done predominantly like tattoos before. He has a really strong balance of light and darks in his inks, and I think that like he would do a very good job. And so I was like, okay. And so I hit up Dean, and I told him, like, look, I have this idea for this character. These are the things that I kind of want to do with it, but I'm having issues writing the script because I can't see him. Like I can't visualize how the character looks, so I can't write how he uses the suit, like how he does this. Because like the whole thing is that you've got this father who has lost his son to an act of violence, and his life has just kind of gone to shit. And so his son's ghost comes back to save his dad and show him the truth about what happened the night that he was murdered. And then together they are this spectral superhero going after his kid's killers to bring them to justice. And so like this story in and of itself has an immense power to it, but like I couldn't visualize how this suit that was powered by his kid's ghost would work. Like I had ideas and everything, like there's the motif of the hands and everything, which are all representative of David's hands protecting his father and everything like that. But like I couldn't see it. And so we started working on the character sheet. Within like the first draft, we had pretty much had it. There were some small revisions that we did, but like it was pretty much right there. And after that, like I think I wrote the first draft within 2 weeks. Like it just flowed out of me. This is a story that I wanted to tell so bad. And you know, we told it, we got it out to backers, and the response has been very humbling. And I appreciate every single bit of response that we've gotten, because it's been incredible. And like, it's far from a perfect book. It was Dean's first comic. There are things that I know he wants to go back and redo. There are also edits that I need to make on certain things. Like, that's part of being an indie creator, is there's always room for growth. And frankly, that's part of being a creator in general. No, but like the moment that you think that you're at the top of your game, your goose is cooked, because you should never strive to stop being better, because that's how greatness is really achieved, is by never accepting that you are the best. Just keep on trying to get better and keep looking for ways to get better. And I think the moment that you stop doing that, you've become incredibly dishonest with yourself about the amount of talent that's out there, and your work's going to get stale. But
how many issues do you have planned?
So this is going to be a 5 to 6 issue miniseries. I say 5 to 6 because initially the plan was very concrete 5. I'm in the middle of writing the 3rd script, and there's a very good chance I might have to break this up into 2 issues. It's very like backstory driven, and it's important, and everything that we're doing there is important. It might be too much for one singular issue. It might be a thing where I have to split it up into 2.
And the book's printed, right? Or the one that you sent me, is that part of the first, or is that part of the Kickstarter?
Yeah, so that was a part of like the first run. So those are leftovers that we had of the hollow foil Jim O'Reilly cover, which is beautiful stuff. And like that cover is actually technically on the Kickstarter, but it will have it. And initially, it was like a virgin cover that we had hollow foil. On this, it'll have like the Embrace trade dress, and then it will just be like a normal comic cover. I don't want the Kickstarter backers to get a more premium edition of that book than the Indiegogo ones that backed it initially. I feel like that's incredibly unfair. But yeah, like the Kickstarter version of the book is pretty much all done. The only thing that I'm doing right now is we have a 6-page preview of the Embrace 2, which will be launching July 12th. That will be replacing a fan art gallery that we had at the back of the Embrace 1's initial edition. So like that, I thought that was like a cool way to kind of, draw some of our old customers back in to kind of see what we're doing with the second book, while also, attracting new people. And one of the things that I really am excited about with it is Dean has grown so much as an artist, and then on top of that, we had to switch colorists. Paul Bellick did a tremendous job with the first book, but he was not really available to do work on the second book at the rate that we were hoping. Like he's from the Ukraine, and so as you can imagine, the past couple of years, it was difficult getting him to like commit to deadlines and what have you, because there was just so much going on. So we ended up finding another colorist, Eugene Bedevu, who's just done a tremendous job, and his color work really just accentuates Dean's lines on a whole other degree. And so between Dean's leveling up of his own personal skill on sequentials and Eugene's colors to accompany it, it's a completely different product, and I really want people to see be able to compare the massive levels of improvement between the first book and the second book within that issue. I think it's just a great way to highlight that.
What social media is you on nowadays?
I'm technically still on Twitter, but I really try not to be on there at this point, because it's a toxic cesspool of drama and silliness. Predominantly, I'm on Facebook, where I've got a 9 Realms Publishing Facebook page that I'm getting back into the swing of actually bolstering, as I have some very exciting projects that I'm working on. And then I have Instagram, which again I'm doing my best to bolster and what have you. We're actually getting some pretty solid traction on the Embrace content that I've been putting up. And then I have YouTube, where generally on Thursdays every week I do a fun show called When in Rome, where me and my co-host, a fellow comic creator named Matt Krotz, will go and look at Roman history videos or stuff and kind of give our 2 cents on things and have a laugh with the chat and just have a good time. So, yeah.
Do you have any cons planned this year?
Not this year.
Okay.
Because I wasn't in a place to get into those, like financially, was not in a place to get into the cons this past year. My goal is 2025, I will actually do some cons around the East Coast. Because that's where I'm at. I'm in Virginia. But like next year, I have some very big plans specifically for Elysian Fields. I'm doing a complete creative overhaul of the series. Brand new art team. I've gone back and redone the script. The initial 0 issue was like, I want to say 25 pages. The new Elysian Fields Reborn issue 1 is 44.
Sweet.
And like we're moving from like standard comic print format to 8.5 by 11 prestige edition. So like we're upgrading like everything on this book to make it as much of a spectacle and just something that I think everyone will enjoy. It's going to be pretty freaking epic.
Dead or alive, who is your dream team to make a comic book with?
Oh shit.
Yeah.
All right. Let me start with, I'm going to do one team alive, one team dead. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So, alive would be Greg Capullo doing covers, Jorge Jimenez doing interiors. And I'm blanking on the colorist's name, but he's the guy that does Jorge's covers. He's just phenomenal. Those that are dead. Cover artist would be Frank Frazetta. Interiors, Bernie Wrightson. Just Bernie Wrightson.
I like it. Is there anything you want to say before we go?
Just thanks for having me on. I know it's been a hot minute, and it's kind of crazy that your channel has built up and you've done a brilliant job with things. So it's kind of crazy that we didn't have another show in the past 4 years. It was like I think the first thing they missed me was like, "Hey man, great to hear from you again. Why haven't I heard from you in 4 years?" Like,
right.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I don't know, but like it's really good seeing your success and everything like that. I do believe that a rising tide is good for all ships, and it's very refreshing to see YouTubers out there trying to help give indie creators a leg up and get them some exposure, and with people that are actually interested in not just backing projects but reading them and having something new to enjoy. So greatly appreciate you for that. And again, thanks so much for having me on. And I am glad that you're enjoying the embrace, it seems like.
Yeah.
And I hope that anyone watching the show gives the book a shot. I really think that it is a story that will resonate with a lot of people.
I appreciate you taking the time to come talk with me.
Yeah, of course.
What? You mean you haven't subscribed to Comicchatauthority? Oh, come on, subscribe already. What are you waiting for? It's no big deal. Like, man, don't forget to tell him to hit that like button. Yeah, that too. Just subscribe.